If you're feeling overwhelmed in the day-to-day of your business and trying to manage all of it and remember everything in your head, this episode is for you. We have Angela. She is a systems guru. I absolutely loved chatting with her about how to be a better guest and to understand when to promote, how to promote, and making sure that we're not keeping track of all of that in our head. We also talked about ways to really make the most of our systems within our business, what to focus on first, and how often we need to be checking our tech stack. You're going to love this if you're looking to make your business work more efficiently this year. And Angela has all of the answers to all of these questions and more. Hello, Angela. I am so excited that you're here today. If you could start by telling everyone who you are and what you do.
Hello. Thank you for having me. And yes, my name is Angela Tan. I am the founder of the Systems RX, and I am based in sunny Tampa, Florida, but I am originally from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And I kind of have two roles in my business. The first is a done-for-you tech and automation specialist, and I specifically focus on setting up workflows that make it easy for people to learn about what you do, pay you, and rave about you. So anything in the realm of automated marketing, sales, and client management systems. And aside from the done for you tech and automation specialist role, I am also a systems educator, and I love educating online entrepreneurs on easy to implement automated systems so they can run a sustainable and hands-off business while juggling any other roles that they have outside of being a business owner without losing their sanity, because I myself am a mom of two boys under 5, and I rely heavily on automated systems to keep me sane while juggling all of the things.
Yes, automations, you are speaking my language. I love a good automation. Anything that I can integrate with whatever my current systems are, I am all for. So I thought about you when I recently had two of my friends on to co-host an episode where we talked about how to really be strategic about being a guest on other people's podcasts and the kind of things that go into hosting someone to be on your show. And we have a lot of systems and processes in place for hosting, right? We've got intake forms and we've talked about all of that. But you mentioned something in one of your stories where you were saying that you easily put in some information to be able to remember to promote when you're on a summit or when you're on a podcast episode. And this is where I think a lot of people fall short on. I mean, hosts are constantly saying, oh, my guests aren't sharing. And it might be a bit of the host not giving enough information to the guests to be able to share, or saying, hey, your episode is live. Here are some assets, right? Like that helps people. But as guests, making sure that we are sharing the episodes that we're on. I mean, that's literally content that we can use in so many different ways. And so it's important that we're remembering these episodes that we're on. So can you talk a little bit more about what that process is for you, for people who are like, look, I want to be a better guest, or I want to be a guest on more shows, but I want to make the most of those episodes to really be able to share them with my audience and also use them in whatever other ways I possibly can?
Yeah, I think a lot of us online entrepreneurs are relying on our memory too much. We're juggling so many things, especially if you are a solopreneur, if you have a small team, like we are still juggling a lot of things. And so for me as a systems educator and a system specialist, like I'm always looking for ways to make things more efficient in my business. And in late 2023, I was starting to get back into collaborating more, being more active with bundles and podcast interviews and summits and whatnot. And I found out that I was really struggling to keep up with what I've committed to and when all these things started to go live. And there were even a couple of like podcast interviews where they came out, but I didn't remember in time and I didn't promote it. And like you said, you just feel bad. Like you're like, oh,
Right.
someone invited you on their podcast. They're letting you be on their platform to share your message. And you want to share the podcast episode. You want to share the interview with your audience. And so typically when things start to get clunky in my business or starts to give like this can be done better vibes, I'm like, all right, we got to fix it. So I am a big lover of Airtable. And so I created a database on Airtable, and part of that database is a form that I can fill out the collabs that I have committed to, including when the collab goes live. any swipe files that the host of the collab gives me. So like that can include like collabs in general, like podcast interviews, summits, bundles, all that. So like any swipe files that they give me, like I can add it there if that's something that I have ahead of time. Any important links that I need to like include there. And so I can just fill all that stuff out when I have the information, and it gets added to my collab promo tracker. So I can keep track of when all these collabs go live and also like space them out strategically, because if I have a launch going on, like right now I'm getting ready to launch something next week, and if I know that I have a podcast interview coming out next week, I might wait a little bit before I promote that podcast interview so that I'm not throwing so many things at my audience at once, because I really want to be intentional about promoting the podcast interviews that I'm on. So that also gives me like a really high level view of like all the collabs that I have going on, when they're going live, when I can promote it. And I can also look at my marketing schedule and be like, okay, like this fits in here. I can promote this like in this window and all of that. I typically don't have my marketing scheduled that far out in advance, so I'm pretty flexible. But just in case, like for the first time, I've actually like planned this launch out strategically. So I'm like, okay, like be more careful about this one. But I've also like double committed to collabs going live at the same time. Like if I'm in 2 summits going on at once, like which has happened too, I'm like, oh my God, I feel so like pressured to share both with my audience, and like, how do they know which one they should sign up for and all that. So now that I can add that information to my collab promo tracker, I can see it easily, and I can look at it before I commit to more collabs, and I can see like when the collabs go live. And there's a special automation in the back and that also adds the collab to my Google Calendar so that I can visually see it too on my calendar. So that is my collab promo tracker system that I created for myself. And when I shared it with the world, everyone was like, oh my goodness, like this is so smart. Because I'm also having a hard time keeping up with all the stuff that I've committed to. And it's like, okay, great, take it.
Yes. Yeah, I'm thinking even about like for me, I will put things on my calendar even if they're, potential collaborations, to ensure of like, hey, this event's going live, or this is happening, or these are goals that I would like to achieve. So I want to make sure that I can visually see them. So adding it to your calendar, I think, is so important for those of us who kind of want to see it broadly, and having that special, color or whatever works for you to be able to visually see it.
Yeah.
I like to use ClickUp for all of my kind of stuff. And I'm thinking even of ways that this could very easily be integrated with something like ClickUp, where you have a form that automatically creates a task that then has automation set up on the back end. And yeah, it makes so much sense. What about when maybe you are like for a podcast interview, right? You might not have the link or the assets yet. How would you kind of go about doing that to figure out when you want to share it? And that's one thing I do love about podcasts, is that they're evergreen, right? So they're always going to be there. You can share them the week after, it's okay. And when you mentioned, like, if you see that there's a podcast going live during an event or a launch, you can let the host know, I'm definitely going to share your episode. I have it on my schedule. It's going to be the week after because I have this launch happening. Most people are going to understand that, right? So if you don't have all the information at once, what are kind of some things that you do to ensure that you do go back to add that stuff?
Yeah, so I think it depends on the podcast host. Some podcast hosts, when I'm done with an interview, they'll be like, your podcast is going to go live the week of blah, 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 blah. And like, we'll have this stuff sent to you on this date. Like some podcast hosts are like that. And that's super helpful. And I kind of add that date to my calendar ahead of time. And then once I do get all of the swipe files and all of that, then I fill out the form. Or whenever I do get the information after the interview, I put all of that on the form so that I can easily have all of my podcast interviews in one place too. Something I want to do in 2024. Don't remember what year it is put like all the podcasts that I've been on my website. And I really wish I did this like sooner, but that way people can go like binge listen to all the interviews that I've been on. So this promo tracker will also help me achieve that. But I want to say, as soon as you get the information for the podcast interview, just add it to your calendar, add it somewhere, especially with the swipe files. Like if there are swipe files, they're just so easily lost in the ethers of your inbox. Put it in your project management tool, or if you're going to create a tracker like mine, like put it in that tracker so it's all in one place. And that way, whenever you want to promote it, it's right there and it's easily accessible. That automation that I talked about earlier that adds the event to my calendar so that I can see it, it also adds like all the swipe file links to the event description, so that's right there for me to grab as well. And I forgot to mention there was another automation too that will also add a task to my project management tool when I submit the form to remind me to promote the whatever the collab is on my project management tool with like a set due date, like right around when the collab goes live. And then depending on, if I'm launching, I can adjust that. But those are like little reminders that you can set up for yourself, and adding in the swipe files so they're easily accessible, so that it's so easy for you to just like promote it and share it versus having to dig through like, when does it go live, where is this swipe file copy, like where is the image, all of that stuff. Just make it easy for yourself to like share the interview.
Yes. I'm even thinking like ClickUp has the ability to send emails to tasks. And I don't know if Airtable has this as well, but I'm thinking Airtable, Notion, those types of project management tools, Asana should have this capability where when I get an email about a specific thing that I know ties back to a task. So say for managing our clients, if a client sends me, hey, this is the bio, the picture, whatever of this guest that we're going to have on in a couple of weeks, I can just forward that email to the task, and that way all of that information shows up for my team to be able to see, okay, this is what you need for this episode, right? The graphic, the bio, etc. If they don't have their own automation set up yet where it automatically adds in that stuff, which obviously I recommend doing that rather than emails back and forth, but
yes,
there's just another way.
There's so many ways around it. Yeah, depending on what tool you're using, like what software you're using, like just take the time to explore like what automations are possible and how it integrates with the stuff that you're already using, and just find ways to make your life as an entrepreneur more simple, because it's hard. This stuff's hard.
It is. It's so difficult. And I feel like so often, like you said at the beginning, we do rely on our own memory to try to keep up with everything that we're trying to do. And I don't think that that is the best way to go about running a business, number one, but also running your life, like especially as busy moms and wanting to have some type of, I say nightlife, like I go out all the time. I don't, but like not working every night. Nightlife, weekend life, etc. Like I want to be able to turn my computer off and be like, everything's fine. Tomorrow's list is already ready. I already know what I'm working on tomorrow, and it's things that are going to help me move my business forward. Like having that peace of mind rather than chasing everything and saying, oh, where are those assets, and where's that interview, and when is that interview again? And like I need more space.
Yeah. And I think the hard part, the funny thing is, I just sent out a market research survey to my audience. And the thing that they struggle the most with is just finding the time to set aside to set up these simple, like time saving things in their business. And they don't have to take like 5 hours. It could be, I always say, like start an hour a week to just find something in your business to simplify and automate. And it doesn't have to be an automation. It could just be like, if you're constantly sending out the same email over and over again, make a template out of it so that you're not having to write it over and over again. So find ways to simplify things in your business, and you can start small and then gradually like work your way up to like bigger, more robust automations if you want. But yeah, just starting small and working your way there. Just start somewhere, and sooner or later you'll get to being an automated, efficient CEO.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like those little things, right? So often we look at our habits and how we're doing things, and we think, oh, I have to make these big changes, or I have to rock everything or tear it all down if I'm feeling that way. Like, no, it's okay. You can literally say, wow, I'm really struggling with this week. How can I make this more efficient? I know when we had first connected, one thing that I remember you saying was that you were finding that you were having to take your kids to appointments and they were running back to back with client calls. And you were like, oh my goodness, I wish I could just give myself some space in my calendar where people can't book me during like a window between me trying to get home from these appointments. And you were like, oh, ta-ta. There's an automation for that.
Yeah.
And I love that approach because like I said, so often I think we have to tear the whole thing down and try to rebuild it from scratch when it's just those little things that, okay, what am I struggling with this week? Okay, how can I make this better so that I don't struggle with it next time? That is going to help so much with not only your business but your life as well. And I think that it's such an underutilized thing when we're trying to build habits or build better businesses.
Yeah, I think especially this year, like a lot of the online entrepreneurs who have been in the space for a while, they're starting to notice that they've kind of fallen for all these scaling strategies. Like you have to launch a mastermind, you have to launch a group program. Like those seem so like sexy and like money generating and all that, that like systems and like automations and all that stuff, like those don't seem too fun and that's not going to generate money. So like everyone just kind of like bypassed all of that and jumped into like, need to launch new offers, need to do this, need to do that. And I think that this year, from what I'm seeing so far, like a lot more people are really looking into what softwares they've signed up for, what have they been like overpaying for, where have things been really inefficient and clunky in their business, and like taking the time to figure out how they can simplify that. Because if you're already drowning in day-to-day tasks and you're relying on your memory to do all of these things, how are you going to launch a new offer? How are you going to go on more podcast interviews, all these things? So I think really like I said earlier, like one step at a time, even if it's just 1 hour a week, 1 hour a month, to just simplify one thing that will save you hours down the road. Like it is so worth it.
Yeah, I'm even thinking about the bigger businesses that maybe blew up in 2020 or 2021. And then you find like, oh, I'm going to join their membership. And then you get in and you're like, oh, this is just not what I thought it was going to be, or this is not run well. And it's like these big businesses that are like, yes, these masterminds are sexy. And yes, these group programs are great, or these memberships are great. And it's like, do you even like doing that though? Because it doesn't seem like you do.
Right? Or like they don't have the systems behind it to like support the amount of people joining. And it's just like, you should have thought about your systems a little bit more. But
yes. So we definitely should be doing that way ahead of time. What are some things like an hour a week that we can potentially do? Where can we kind of start if we're feeling like, oh my goodness, I'm overwhelmed. I don't even know where to start. Everything kind of feels like it's falling apart. I'm kind of drowning. Where can we start in getting these automations better as podcasters, as business owners?
That's a good question. I kind of have two answers to that. If everything seems too much and you're like, I don't know where to start, I just say, just pick something, just pick one thing. And just focus on that. Because if you start like thinking about all the things, you're going to get overwhelmed, right? I can get easily overwhelmed like that. So if you just focus on one thing that will save you 1 hour a week, that's a start. Or I also like to say maybe it's automating your sales process, because then that you can bring in money on autopilot then. And then that buys you time to work on more systems and automating those systems in your business too. So if automating your sales process sounds way too complicated, like that's fine. Go find something small that you can start with until you kind of get the hang of like automations. But I always encourage people to get curious with automations in their business, because like a lot of the times how I create solutions to the really clunky stuff in my business is I just ask myself, can I automate this? Like think about the Roombas or like the robot kitty litter thing. Like what if the person who invented those things were like never thought to themselves like, can a robot do this? So kind of have that approach to the clunky stuff in your business and really get curious. I love using Zapier, however people pronounce that. And now with AI tools everywhere, you can like leverage those to create automations in your business. You can even ask ChatGPT. It's funny because I sent an email out to my email list the other day. Like you can ask ChatGPT, like, what tech stuff do you need to create a automated quiz funnel? And it'll spit out a whole laundry list of things. Now, I don't recommend following it step by step because I have a funnel course dedicated for that. But like there are tools out there that will help you speed up the process. So when you get curious, you can ask the robots, like, can I do this? And it will help you like speed up that process. So get curious, find something small that you can start with, or if you're feeling ambitious, automate your sales process so that you can start bringing in money on autopilot and buy you more time to serve your clients or just work on other stuff in your business.
So when you say automate your sales process, what does that typically, in thinking just general business, online businesses, what does that typically look like for people?
Yeah, so that could be their funnel, their customer journey. So if, for example, we'll use your business as an example. If someone comes to your Instagram page or your website and they want to work with you, if there is no direct way for them to like inquire about your services, like find a way to automate that. Like make it easy for your people to learn about what you do, right? So like if that's a ClickUp form where they fill out and they submit their information, and then as soon as they submit that information, they get an automatic email letting them know what to expect next. Or if you have certain automation set up that will like automatically send them a booking link to book a call with you if they fit the criteria for working with you, that could be one less step you have to do and like one less thing they have to wait on. They can just book a call with you right away after they've submit an inquiry form. And then your client onboarding process after they've like, okay, I want to work with you, like I want to sign with you, great. You just hit a button in your CRM tool to send them contract, invoice, onboarding packet, all of that stuff. Like that can all be automated in so many different ways depending on what software you're using. And automating that will buy you back so much time so you can focus on serving your clients and serving more clients. That's how I would say you could automate your sales process.
Yeah, so for me, that looks like, just to give people like a very practical behind the scenes on what my sales process looks like. I have my contact page, which has a form that's attached to Honeybook, and then they fill out that form. I have questions in there that really allow them to self-select out. So I ask if they believe in equity for all people. If someone does not, then they're probably not a good fit, and they can see that right
Yeah.
there. I tell them our prices start around this for full service. What's your budget? And that lets them know kind of what that price range is. I also have the prices on my website as well. That also allows them to self-select out. They fill out that form. It automatically sends them to a Calendly where they book a call. I've already got all that information. Once they have that call, I'll actually set up I already have templates in Honeybook for
Yes.
production prices and production contracts, what those look like. I can set those up. And then even beyond that, I have two different versions of work automation workflows where if someone is a brand new launch client, I have a launch form I need them to fill out before our initial call in order to get more information about their brand and more information for that initial call with me so I can go in knowing exactly what we're going to talk about. I have an email that sends that, and it has here's the form to fill out with all of your details. Here's where to book the call. So it automatically has that book call section. And then I also have a welcome to the family email that kind of gives them a breakdown of our values and what to expect, who they can expect to work with, kind of what our timelines are, what our expectations are, all of that stuff to give them a little more information about what it's like. And so those two emails automatically go out for launch clients. And then for production clients, it's just a little variation of that. And so that helps me be able to say, I literally just have to show up to the call and then say,
Yes.
this is the package they want. And that's it. Right. So, like, I don't have to worry about, oh, I got to send these emails. And what does that email look like? And I maybe have 5 calls back to back. So I'm going to have to send this tomorrow. At that point, they might not be interested anymore. They might find somebody else to do the work. So, having those automations, I think, is so important.
Yes, especially in your sales process. Because if you think about how these days, like people want things and they want things fast. Like you think about Amazon Prime, people are so used to Amazon Prime shipping. Like this better be here like same day or next day. You know, if it's like a week out, like oh, I'm gonna find somewhere else to like buy this from. And the same goes with your business. Like if they have to wait a week to hear back from you to book a call from you, like they'll probably go on and find someone else at that point. So how can you reduce that friction and like give them what they want fast so that they can make a decision to work with you faster?
Yeah. And those are so easy ways to set up automations for your sales process without having to overcomplicate it. Right. So, like everything I just expressed, I don't have to stress about it. I don't have to think about it. I've set it up one time and it's done. I might go in
Yes.
once a year to kind of tweak some things, or if I come up with friction of like, oh, I have a 14-day late fee policy, I would think I want to change that to 10 days, then that would be the only thing that I go into the contract and I change for new clients. So like those are things that I can go in and change, and then I don't have to worry about it again, rather than being like,
Yeah.
oh, what was my policy again for that? I don't remember. No, it's all there.
Yeah. And it's so nice because like you'll be hanging out with your kids or like, you know, be at the park or grocery shopping something and you'll see that you got like a new lead and they've already booked a call, and like you have all the information from that intake form, and really all you have to do is just show up. And like
Yeah.
some softwares have apps where you can just like do it on your phone. So I think Honeybook just rolled out a thing where you can like do automations on your phone too. So if you want to like hit a button on the app and just like send out an email through there, like it's so easy if you have the automation set up already. So I really, really encourage people to like, with the softwares that they are using and paying for, because you're paying for these softwares, like utilize the features and make the most out of it to see how it can make your life as a business owner just easier.
How often do you think that we should be kind of reviewing our or that's not the word, tech stack? There we go. Cannot say that. How often do you think we should be reviewing that for duplications or for maybe things that we're not using any longer? Maybe things we use seasonally, but maybe need again? What does that kind of look like for that you recommend?
I personally do every 3 months, but you can also do every 6 months if you're not someone who signs up for a lot of softwares. But I'm always trying out new softwares and I'm always signing up for free trials. And sometimes, like, you know how they'll ask for your credit card information for those free trials and eventually those are turned into subscriptions that you forget about? I'm one of those people. So I do every 3 months, I have a software audit checklist where I literally brain dump all the softwares that I've used, the billing date, how much I pay, is it like a monthly or annual or one-time fee, like, so I can keep track of it. I also have like categories for each software. So if I'm seeing 2 CRMs in there, I'm like, okay, why am I paying for 2? Or I was talking earlier about how like take time to play around with the softwares. If you notice that one software that you're already paying for has the same feature that you're like, for example, I use ThriveCart for my digital products. ThriveCart has a countdown timer with it. And at some point I was using Deadline Funnel, which is another countdown timer. So it's like, why am I paying? Like, this one already comes with a countdown timer. So why am I paying for 2? You know, so that helps you to see like, okay, where are there duplicates? Like, why am I, softwares are really like, they're the silent killers of like profits in your business because they like take away from your bottom line without you even realizing it if you don't pay attention to it. So treat your softwares like your employees, because they are technically employees of your business, and audit, like how you would do like employee reviews if you were running a corporate business. Like, do little reviews of your software and your tech stack to make sure that, they're doing a job. If, like, for me, if you use ClickUp, right? I tried to love ClickUp. I really tried. I think I spent about a year trying to love ClickUp. And at the end, I was just like, no, this is not working for me. I'm barely using it. And I went back to my old project management tool. So if you're in that same boat where you're really trying to love a software and it's just not working for your brain, because our brains all work differently, then that's also a sign to move away from a software and try something else. And that's where free trials are nice, because you get to play around with it to see if it works for your brain. So every 3 months, that's my long answer. Every 3 months is when I propose to do that audit.
No, I think that's such a great idea. I've been doing it yearly, and I am thinking that especially as the business transitions to offering more workshops, courses, etc., I'm finding I'm needing more tools to be able to manage those. And so finding the best ways and the best tools, I think it's going to be important to regularly check those, the tech that I'm using. I actually don't recommend ClickUp. I am for everyone. I love it for myself. I love it for my business. I love it for managing a team, but solopreneurs and ones who maybe don't have as many checklist style things that need to happen for each process, I don't think it makes sense for a lot of people, but I love it. And it's just enough where it's like robust enough where I'm like, oh my God, this is fantastic. There's so many automations. So
I've seen, especially for podcast hosts, I've seen it work really good. But like I said, I tried so hard because like in that 2020, 2021 era, like so many people are like, you need ClickUp to scale your business. You can't run it on Trello or on Asana or whatever. So I'm like, all right, fine, I'll try it out. And a shiny object syndrome costed me a year's worth of ClickUp subscription. It's like, I have to love it. Like, this is what everyone's using. So this is what will scale my business. But like, no, like whatever works for your brain, whatever is helping you be more productive, like that's what will scale your business. So yeah, softwares and systems are so unique to everyone. You just have to take your time to like figure out what works for you.
Yeah. And I think going back to that, reviewing regularly is so important. I saw a very big brand, like a brand that's been around for years, probably as long as I've been in the online space, which is a long time. I saw that they were using Slack and they were using ClickUp. And I was like, you do know ClickUp has like a chat
Yeah.
form of Slack. Like, what are you doing? They were like, here's my tech stack. And I was like,
I know.
nobody's going to say anything. Nobody's
I
gonna say anything.
know.
Like, are you kidding me? Like, I use it with my team. We have chats, so general chats, client issue chat, wins chats. Like, we have those sections just like we would on a Slack channel. So review regularly, please. Even if you're a big brand, especially if you're a big
Yeah.
brand, like make it simpler.
It's
for
the
people.
big brands who, like, I've worked with a lot of big coaches, and their tech stack is stacking. Just like, oh my god, you're paying for a lot of things. This is a lot of things, but do you know that this tool can also do this? So you could eliminate this other tool that you're paying like almost $1,000 a year for, and their minds are just like, what? Like, but because they're so focused on the money generating activities that, you know, they're told to like focus on, it just gets forgotten and like just swept under the carpet. So
And it's making
it's
you
sad.
spend money that you don't need to spend. Like, come on. Well,
Exactly.
you have tons of tools and resources and courses and all of that fun stuff for people. If they're like, look, I need Angela in my life and I need her templates, I need her stuff, please. So where can people find you, buy your stuff, get to know you, buy your courses, work with you if they just need you to jump in and help them too?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram. My handle is the Systems RX. I share a lot of reels of my babies on there. They are my marketing people. So, or you can find me on my website, thesystemsrx.com, and there you can find how to join my email list or my digital product shop, which is called the Funnel Pharmacy, and other freebies on there. So yeah.
Awesome. Perfect. We'll make sure we have links for that in the show notes as well as on the blog post so that if you guys are driving or busy or doing other things, you can come back and make sure that you check out all of Angela's stuff. Angela, thank you so much. This has been so fun and informative.
Yes.
I'm so glad we had this talk.
So glad. Thank you so much for having me.